Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Isa Abu Isa, and we welcome you to another episode of The Night Shift.
Alhamdulillah, today inshallah ta'ala is a continuation of the remedy number 2. This will be the second remedy, dealing with helping the remedies to help rebuild what the fitna has destroyed. Before, we have talked about, by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, the first remedy, and that was dealing with the heart, that all a man's issues return back to the heart. Today, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, we're going to go over and begin the book of Ibn Rajab, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, which is the journey to Allah Jalla wa Ala. And in this particular book, we will deal with the great principle. That's chapter number 1, bi'idhnillah. So that we're all on the same page. The author, he starts his book off with mentioning the great principle. As for the principle, he explained what it is. It is that the deeds of man are not sufficient to deliver him from the hellfire or to grant him entry into paradise. Instead, this can only come about through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his forgiveness. And then he's going to bring a number of verses. The point being is that throughout the current fitna, we see that there are a lot of things that are intricate as well as things that are inward that we need to work on. A lot of things that we need to work on. And that is getting us to go back to cleansing our hearts. And the way to cleanse our hearts is to recognize the fact that there's nothing that we can do, meaning from our actions alone, that will be sufficient enough to enter us into paradise. And understanding this great principle somehow get us to get away from being deceived by our actions.
Also bragging and stuff like that.
Exactly, being boastful.
I teach this. We got these classes going on. We got this going on. If a person understood this principle, he would be worried that those, first of all, those deeds aren't enough to grant you paradise. But you'd be worried that not only are they not enough to enter you into paradise, they may not even be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A
person would not feel so confident in the action that he or she carries out if they understood this principle. Why? Because you have to understand that every action that one embark upon is up to Allah Azza wa Jal to accept that action or not. And that must be, the cause root. So the Shaykh, he said the Quran support this meaning in many places, such as in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, and Allah is going to mention something in this verse. He said, فَالَّذِينَ هَاجُرُوا وَأُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأُوذُوا فِي سَبِيلِي وَقَاتَلُوا وَقُوتِلُوا لَأُكَفِّرَنَّ عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ. So Allah Jalla wa Ala said, those who hajaru. Here, hijra, and hijra have many meanings, but this particular hijra is talking about migrating from the land of the kuffar to the land of the Muslims. This was during the time of the Ansars and the Muhajirin, when they were leaving from Mecca and going to Medina. So anyway, hijra is definitely something that is noteworthy, a praiseworthy action. وَأُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ, and they was expelled from their homes, kicked out. وَأُوذُوا فِي سَبِيلِي, and Allah said they have received harm in our path. وَقَاتَلُوا, and some were, they fought. وَقُوتِلُوا, and they were slain. Some was actually killed on this path. لَأُكَفِّرَنَّ عَنْهُمْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ وَلَأُدْخِلَنَّهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ ثَوَابًا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed we shall expiate for them their evil deeds, and we shall admit them into paradise underneath which rivers flow, as a reward from Allah. Wallahu indahu husnul thawab, and with Allah Jalla wa Ala is the great reward. The Shaykh also mentioned another verse in Surah At-Tawbah where Allah said, يُبَشِّرُكُمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِرَحْمَةٍ مِّنْهُ وَرِضْوَانٍ وَجَنَّاتٍ لَهُمْ فِيهَا نَعِيمٌ مُقِيمٌ. So Allah said, give them glad tidings, their Lord give them glad tidings, meaning their Lord give them glad tidings of a mercy from Him and His pleasure, and Jannah, gardens for them, wherein they will have a na'imul muqim, or everlasting delight. An everlasting light, Surah At-Tawbah. Also Allah Jalla wa Ala said, تُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَتُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Notice the verse preceding the verse we just read in Surah At-Tawbah is talking about jihad, being expelled from one's home, just like the previous verse. And those actions, jihad, hijrah, all of those actions are noble actions. And there are many hadiths on the virtues of those actions. But just because the people done those actions, which are noble in the sight of men, and is noble even with Allah Jalla wa Ala, does not guarantee them that because those actions alone was going to enter them in paradise, as you see that Allah Jalla wa Ala had rewarded them with multiple rewards. Expiated their sins.
Enter them into Jannah.
Entered into Jannah. Gave them along with His mercy and His pleasure.
Nah.
Right? Also, along with giving them His mercy and His pleasure, He also gave them gardens underneath where rivers flow. This is multiple rewards based upon the actions they have done. Also, the Sheikh, he said, believe in Allah, tu'minun, that you believe in Allah and His Messenger, wa tujahiduna fi sabilillah, and that you strive in His way, bi amwalikum wa anfusikum, with your wealth and with your lives. Dhalikum khayrun lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. That is better for you, but no, yakfir lakum dunubakum, meaning that Allah will forgive for you your sins. Wa yudkhilukum jannatin tajri min tahtiha al-anhar, and Allah Jalla wa Ala will admit you into paradise underneath which rivers flow. So the Shaykh said, mentioning the victory and entry into paradise alongside forgiveness and mercy, thereby proving that this cannot be obtained except by these. Some of the Salaf, they used to say, or they said, the hereafter consists either Allah's forgiveness, it consists of either Allah's forgiveness or the fire. And this world is either a source of Allah's protection or a source of destruction. On his deathbed, Muhammad ibn Wasi', he bid farewell to his companions, saying, Salamu alaikum, either to the fire or to the forgiveness of Allah.
Nah. Well, I mean, let's try to bring it home, right? If, for example, right, you have an individual, I remember Sheikh Muqsim Maluk, may Allah preserve him, when he was explaining this issue of the actions being worth paradise or not. He said, firstly, he said you got to understand that it's not like going to buy a pair of jeans or clothes. You give somebody $10 and the shirt is actually worth that. The actions are not worth paradise. Let's get that basic. Your salat 5 times a day, waking up in the middle of the night, fasting Ramadan, fasting the Yom al-Ashr, fasting on Arafat. None of these acts are actual equal to the reward that Allah is going to give you for them. Look at them as a means to an end. For example, they're part of a cog that works. You know, like if you have a car, the car has all of the windows, the doors, the wheels. Say if you just have the body and you don't have the actual wheels, you're not going to get to your goal. Okay, the actions help things move along, but they themselves are not the whole car.
They themselves are not, they're used as a cause or to aid you get there, but they themselves are not the actual, like,
they're not the engine.
Yeah, they're not the actual means.
Yeah.
But what else I want to point out from this is that, first and foremost, this also gets us out of the mindset of branding everything. You know, this concept of Salafi products, Salafi stores, Salafi this, Salafi that, or getting caught up in titles. I'm Salafi. Why? Because it's all about, again, the mercy of Allah Jalla wa Ala. It's His rahmah. Because none of your actions, as Sheikh Mahaluk mentioned, none of your actions equal the reward.
Even using that slogan, throwing it around, does not equal up to paradise.
It doesn't. This is why you find the companions, Ridwan Allah Ta'ala alayhim, when the companion came back with the list. This is why you see why Umar ibn Khattab, one of the people who was granted paradise, he ran up and he said, is my name on that list? Here's someone who was granted paradise from the 10 people who promised paradise. And he ran up and he asked and said, is my name on that list? Why would he even think or contemplate my name could be on that list as a hypocrite? Why? This is because none of them felt safe on account of the actions. Yeah, I know the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, I'm Umar ibn Khattab. Yeah, I fought in this battle. I fought in that battle. Yeah, the shaitan crosses the other side when I walk down. None of them had that concept because of whatever I put forth was going to, inshallah ta'ala, I'm deserving of whatever I'm getting.
They didn't feel safe.
They didn't feel safe.
They didn't feel safe.
Unlike today, where many people can brag and say, you know, ana wadih. You know, a lot of people say that I'm upon wudur. I'm upon clarity. Automatically, I know that I'm clear. You know, why are you clear? Okay, I'm Salafi. I'm clear. Why are you clear? Because I hang around the Salafis. Why are you clear? Because I read the books of the Salaf. Why are you clear? Because I go to this masjid, or I go to that masjid, or I associate with this group or that group. No, inshallah ta'ala, you hope by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, because your actions alone, it's not going to enter you into paradise.
They don't.
So this is why you see that they were frightful even on their deathbed. They could have spent their whole entire life being obedient to Allah. But on the time when the angel of death was getting ready to call them, they were sitting there worrying about whether or not they was getting ready to enter the paradise or the hellfire.
Abu Bakr said he wished he was a blade of grass.
SubhanAllah.
And this is Abu Bakr, the best human being after the Anbiya and the messengers. He was the best human being after the prophets and the messengers. Well, some of the Salaf, the hereafter consists either of Allah's forgiveness or the fire. Meaning the hereafter for somebody either is going to be to Allah's forgiveness or to Allah's fire. And this world is either a source of Allah's protection or a source of destruction.
Now, let's just contemplate that. So, in other words, if we realize that earth is not like for the animals, you're not just put here for pastime and play. This life, this abode that you're in, is going to either end you up in two ways. You're going to end up either be Fariqa fil Nar or Fariqa fil Jannah. There's no middle course. You're either going to be a party that's going to enter the paradise or a party that's going to enter the hellfire. If you truly understood that, then you will not have time to join or align yourself with false principles or groups or organizations that have agendas outside the agenda of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why you don't find the companions going astray. This is why you don't find the companions going astray. They stuck to what the Prophet ﷺ told them to stick to. That was Kitab, was Sunnah. This is why you don't find those people holding on to the instructions. Look at Abdullah ibn Umar. He was a child during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He said the Prophet ﷺ has grabbed him by his shoulders. The Prophet ﷺ grabbed him by his shoulders, gave him golden advice. And he told him, Kun fi dunya ka'annaka qareeb. Be in this dunya as if you was a stranger. Here is a child. He was a teenager. The Prophet ﷺ giving him golden advice, where he said, I understood from this advice that if you live to the evening, don't expect to live to what? The morning. And if you make it to the morning, don't expect to what? Reach the evening. Not to be so downtrodden, but I'm just trying to get you to understand the point. Look at their mindset. Because they understood that I am not here for play. I am here to worship Allah Jalla wa Ala, and I am a traveler. I'm journeying into Allah. Allah said, وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ زَادِ تَقْوَى. Allah said, make provision, take provision for your journey. And the best provision you can take is what?
It's taqwa.
You don't have time. So fear Allah Jalla wa Ala. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in personalities. No matter whosoever they may be. The only personality you want to imitate, the one that you want to put in front of you, is the one that your Lord has commanded you to take. As Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, قَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ fi Rasulillahi uswatun hasana. Indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, you have a what? A beautiful example. You are ordered to take him as an example.
And on his deathbed, Muhammad ibn Wasi' bid farewell to his companions, saying, peace be upon you, either to the fire or to the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Shaykh, he goes on, he's gonna bring, as for the same, because there are some ayats where it mentions actions being the reason for entering paradise, right? But the Shaykh is going to explain these ayat. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَتِلْكَ جَنَّةُ الَّتِي أُورِثْتُمُوهَا بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And he said, that is the garden you will be made to inherit for what you did, right? كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَنِيئًا بِمَا أَسْلَفْتُمْ فِي أَيَّامِ الْخَالِيَةِ. And this is Surah Al-Haqqa, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, eat and drink with relish for what you did before in the days gone by. And relish here means drink and be in happiness and delight. It's a British word, means relish, but we don't really use that word. But anyway, I remember when, one of the benefits of the ayat that some of the ulama, they say, and some of the tafasir said, when it says bima kuntum ta'malun, this also shows that tawheed is an act. Because we know that no one enter paradise except a muwahid. That a kafir, this can't just mean actions here, because if this was the case, then kuffar or disbelievers who are doing good acts will enter paradise. But some of the ulama, they say this goes back to asl of amal is tawheed and taqwa. So inshallah, that's a side benefit. So he said, but the scholars differed concerning the meaning of this, falling into two opinions. Right? This Ibn Rajab, he says this, rahimahullah. He says, number one, entry into paradise is accorded by his mercy. We already understand that the great principle is the actions are not entering into paradise, Allah's mercy. He said, but the assignment of ranking and station in paradise is done in accordance to the deeds one performed.
So let's stop there. I want you to understand the difference here. Okay, so the ayats are affirming, these particular ayats are affirming that you are rewarded or you enter paradise on account of what you have put forth, on account of what you already done. And the argument, or not the argument, but the point, the principle is your actions alone will not enter you into paradise. So here, the Sheikh is saying, one opinion is that, okay, you enter into paradise by Allah's mercy, but as far as where you're going to land at in paradise, whether you're going to be on this floor, this rank, or so forth and so on, that's when the actions of what you've done come into play. So make sure we understand that that's what he's saying.
No. Then he says, Ibn Uyayna, rahimahullah, said, they were of the opinion that salvation from the fire occurs through the forgiveness of Allah. Entry into paradise occurs by His grace. And the apportioning of ranking occurs in accordance to one's deeds.
Allahu Akbar. So that's nice. See how they broke that down?
Alhamdulillah.
They actually, see how they divided that. So also that gives again, it goes back again. How do we alleviate ourselves from the current fitna? By going back to the usul. What is Islam? What did it come to do? What is the objectives of Islam? The objective of Islam is not so that you can get together, you know, we become a clique, you know, we become people who we say we got this, we got that. No, it ain't about bragging and boasting. Literally, they said that a person would not enter the hellfire, but except by Allah's forgiveness. Yep. Number one, that tells you that what? That the son of Adam will make mistakes.
Yep. There you go. And the best of those who make mistakes, those who make tawbah.
If the son of Adam didn't make mistakes, why would he say that removed from the hellfire is by way of forgiveness? What would there be left to forgive? The son of Adam is going to make mistakes. The Prophet ﷺ told Abu Bakr what? He said that if the son of Adam did not commit sins, Allah would create a what? A creation that will commit sins. So Allah Jalla wa Ala can be what? All forgiven. So that's number one, they recognize that sins will be committed. So if sins will be committed, then they recognize that it is not on the account of what I put forth. Even if I'm a great imam, even if I memorize Quran, even if I'm a great scholar, even if my name is known in this such a place or that such a place, even if I run, multiple masajids, or, I'm a tulab and I'm known for going here and there, spreading the dawah, as we say, spreading the dawah. Even if I'm known for all of that, my actions alone would not remove me or save me from the hellfire. What's going to do that? Allah's forgiveness.
Allah's mercy. And also, if you look at all three of these things, Allah's forgiveness, Allah's mercy, and portioning the ranking according to one's deeds, all of these are personal journeys. Your clique and the masjid you go to is not saving you on the day of judgment. Your personal journey with Allah. The only way you get forgiveness is by a personal journey. Asking. The only way you get Allah's mercy is you asking. It's your deeds are something that you do. So we're so far away. When are we going to stop and slow down and say, this is a personal journey between me and my Lord? And stop thinking that I'm going to paradise because of what masjid I go to, and what dai I listen to, or who I hang out with, or what avenue I hang with, or all of these things like that are not going to be asked on Yom Qiyamah. Your personal journey, Allah's forgiveness, Allah's mercy, and your deeds are a personal journey to Allah.
And you're in need of Allah's forgiveness, and you're in need of Allah's mercy, but no doubt you cannot separate yourself from your deeds. As the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned in that famous hadith, that there are three things that follow the son of Adam. What did he say it was? He said it was his wealth, his family,
and his actions. And
only one stays. Two of them will return and only one will stay. That's a person amal. A person amal will stay. That's the individual. That's what you have to worry about. What are your actions going to say? Now, we come to find out that your actions themselves don't even enter you into paradise. So you're actually in trouble now, because now you need Allah Jalla wa Ala hope of His mercy.
Accepting those acts.
And accepting those acts. And even if your acts didn't equate to you even enter into paradise, you still need His mercy to enter you into paradise. Inshallah.
SubhanAllah. And then he goes on to the second opinion, and this is a linguistic, so we'll try to, inshallah, explain it as easy as possible. Said that the bad, when he says be mad in the ayat, the bad in the mean says the bad in which has been mentioned is his saying for what you did before in days gone by. Is the bad, the letter bad used to indicate a casuality, sabab or asbab or reason. Hence the meaning is that Allah has appointed deeds to be the means for entry into paradise. Okay? That the actual deeds themselves were created as a means, a vehicle to get to A to B. But they're not what gets you into B. They will get you to B, but the gate doesn't open except that the one who opens the gate has mercy on it, that he accepts those deeds out of his mercy. You understand what I'm saying? So the bad which has been negated in his saying, actions alone will not cause one to enter paradise. Is the bad indicating comparison and compensation. So he says here, the Shaykh says, so the bad here is that to be mad, that the actions themselves are not compared or compensation for something. Meaning, I did all these acts in my life, so the compensation will be paradise. Meaning, because paradise is equal to that.
In other words, I'm rewarded. I did this, so you get that.
It's not going to be equal.
System.
It's not going to end up being equal.
No.
So it has to go back to Allah, forgiveness and mercy, because the acts themselves do not equal the reward that you're going to get for doing them. They're not going to equal up.
So then he sums it up for us.
And replacing,
he says, so the meaning of the hadith would then be that none deserves entry into paradise by virtue of his deeds he has performed. This goes all back to the great principle.
Yep.
So now we understand that the deeds one performed. Why is this so essential? This is so essential, brothers and sisters, honestly, because like Brother Issa said, and that was a good point, that is a personal journey. That is a personal journey. There is no way. It's so essential that you have to realize now you have to look at yourself. You know the saying, born alone, die alone, right?
Yeah, oh man, that's the,
right?
that's
you have to really look at yourself, because that's who's going to be in the grave, you and your deeds. So you have to ask yourself, and this is why you see there are narrations that the companions, they were so in tune and so keen on observing their actions, so much so that they were ever after also they would do what? They would actually count up their deeds. What did I do today? Did I do this? Did I do that? It wasn't like what we see nowadays. Abstract practice of the deen.
It's not a spiritual.
Tangible. There is not really a spiritual practice of the deen.
No,
we don't see, but very few. We don't see that. That spiritual side is like lost.
It is lost.
You know what I mean? And I don't even use the word spirit here. Let's just say those eternal part, that really connection you're supposed to have with your Lord is lost. I'll give you an example. How often do you conversate with your Lord? Outside of Salat. How often do you really conversate with your Lord? Outside of Salat. How often do you talk with your Lord? Most of us, whether we're talking in our head, we know Allah Jalla wa'ala can hear us.
Exactly.
But how often do you conversate? And this is important.
When you're on a train or bus, anything like that.
Do you thicker? How often do you make dua?
Yeah, subhanAllah.
How often do you reflect on the dua that you're making, the words that you're making, so forth and so on? All of this is a personal journey. This helps you not to worry and focus yourself into something that is not it's not healthy for you.
But well, the problem is that we have gotten the habit of being people of slogans and being people of thinking that the dress code or the way that I look is enough to get me in. But Allah's gonna look inside. Even though, yes, the dress code is important, the beard is important, the short pants is important, hijab is important. All these things are part of the inward. They're supposed to be what's coming out. But at the end of the day, these looks are nothing without the internal workings. Because the internal workings is what Allah is going to look at and judge you on.
The problem is everything you just mentioned is not important without that most basic understanding of the abd.
Yep.
Allah Jalla wa'ala have legislated those things. Hijab, thobes, thiyabs, all of that beard and all that is for
the aid the internal.
To aid the actual servant.
Yep.
Those things were in place to aid the actual servant.
Yep.
But if the servant don't understand the importance himself to his Rabb, in relation to his Rabb, his Lord, he's not going to be able to carry out those things in a manner. And I tell you a big difference that everybody can see. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. Us and the companions.
There you go.
Us and the Salaf. It's in the rocket science. When they have, as Aisha read the ayat so eloquently put it, when the ayat came down about the wearing of the hijab, she said you would see that the sisters, they would be what?
They cut their
They was cutting their cloth and they was tearing their thing up, and it was like you know, like crows, even though it doesn't mean that you have to wear black. That's another time. That's another issue. But I'm just saying, they cut up their garments. They immediately implemented the verse when it came down. But what was the process to get them to that stage? It was a process. That process was they were spending all of that time nourishing their hearts, their inner, eternal, in a relationship with their Lord. So when he commanded them, as Allah Jalla wa'ala said to the believers, there are only those when either call Allah, when they are called to Allah or called to his messenger, they say what? Submitna wa ta'na. We hear and we obey. They only reached that level because they had worked it on the inner. And that's where I think we're lost at. We're so busy with what location, what personality, who do you ride with, who do you agree with, who do you take this from. All of that have its context. We don't take our deen from anybody. That's true. But at the same time, that's not the sole purpose. I'm at this masjid, so you know what? And it's sort of like the savior complex. Yeah. And I remember Talib Abdullah was mentioning something similar like this. The savior complex that many of us might have.
Yeah,
I accept Jesus as my Lord, personal Lord and Savior, and then you know what? Everything after that is okay. I say I'm Salafi, I go to this masjid, I listen to this da'i, I quote this sheikh.
So I can be as sinful as I want.
I can be whatever I want to be. And this is important. I can be whatever I want to be and do whatever I want to do. You know why? Because I understand that the Salafi might have mistakes, but his Aqidah is on point. That doesn't mean nothing.
Well, here go the thing right here, right? The proof against that statement. Here's the first thing. The proof that the heart has to be dealt with first. What's the manhaj in the Quran, how Allah dealt with the Muslims of the past? When they got Jews, Amma is just about what? Tawheed, paradise, and the hellfire. That's all it's about. Why? Because it pulls the strings of the heart.
No.
If somebody understands their Lord, and they understand that there's a place that's forever that you burn, and there's a place of delight forever, this individual acts, his life's going to be according to that belief. But the problem with us is that we didn't get that. We got a lot of slogans and personality. We went from one personality to the next. So what happens, our hearts never got cleaned up. So we just became followers or people just pulled along like a donkey to water.
You know what else happened to that?
So
that heart, Allah didn't even order the Muslims at that time to fight during the Meccan. It was called the Meccan period.
Yeah.
He didn't order the Muslims to even fight back.
Because they wouldn't be able to.
Because they wasn't.
Their hearts wasn't ready for it.
If they were fighting, what were they fighting for?
Yeah.
Their hearts were weak.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, exactly.
So when Allah knew that their hearts were strong in Tawheed and the love and connection for Allah, this is why you find a statement of the young man. He said that, Ya Rasulullah, when in the battlefield, he was eating dates.
No.
He said, Ya Rasulullah, if I fight for Allah and I get killed in the way of Allah into paradise, he said, Naam. He dropped his dates and he went out and fought until he was martyred.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But in order for him to get to that level, the heart was solidified.
The heart had to be solidified. And the proof that our communities haven't reached this point, no matter what people try to say, because listen, progress is not buying an old house next to the masjid. Progress is not just having a cyber school. Progress is not everybody's pants are short. Even though those are part of the Islamic identity, but that's not progress. When you look at the communities, and the communities have not risen spiritually and socially, and that the sins are at an all-time high, and fornication is normal, and lying is normal, cheating is normal, selling drugs is normal, being on drugs is normal. When you have that problem, that's not progress. Progress is that a community has risen above those things in general. Not saying those things won't happen. That in general, the community has risen above those things. If you're not seeing that happen, then what the people are being fed cannot be the truth in totality. Because the truth raises people.
It's a process undergoing change.
Exactly.
That's what progress is. It's a process to undergoing change. If there is no change, there is no progress. If you're still the same as you were before, then you did not change. There wasn't no progress. It's actually a regression. And the proof is that you never had an Islamic society that came before us that adhered to Quran and Sunnah, Fahma Salaf, except that you saw the change. You didn't have people running around still at the same time on a larger scale being zani, being adulterers and fornicators.
No.
And that wasn't even heard of. Whether you had one or two or a small pocket of people, you didn't have a large scale.
It wasn't the norm.
That wasn't the norm like that. So when you see that, even in the presence, and this is something I bring this point home because Issa's touching on something very vital. What I want to bring home, even in the presence of Kitab al-Tawheed, a tremendous book. I mean, Allah reward the author, rahimahullah, even though we know that the best book of Tawheed is the book of Allah.
No.
Even in presence of the Salafi institutions, so it will, the Salafi masajids, so to speak. Even in presence of the tulab, even if we have a lot of them, abundance, so to speak. Even in presence of all of that, and you still have fisk and sin at an all-time high, something is wrong. Because when you look at the Prophet's generation, when you look at the generation after them and the generation after them, right? What do you see? You see those sins regression. You see them going down. It wasn't a large scale of that stuff. And when you don't see it, it's because what our brother, alhamdulillah, and we're not going to mention his name, but he did confide this to Isa. He said that he's over there right now studying with Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili.
No.
He sends Benefit Delhi. And he said one of the questions, because he lives in the Baltimore area, he said one of the questions he asked Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili was that, I'm from the Baltimore area. I'm paraphrasing here. And he said, my people, we teach those books. Kitab Tawheed, all of the books. We teach those, the books of the, that we are encouraged to teach. The Latatul Usul, the three fundamental principles, Qawaid Arba. But my people are still sinning. My people are still they're not leaving off that stuff. Look what the Sheikh said. He said, this is because
it's not being practically taught.
Those books are not taught in a practical sense.
And I'll give you an example, right? And some people are not going to like this. The way that these brothers are teaching our community is a dead, archaic language that doesn't benefit us at all. And very little does it benefit us. Meaning that you're giving us these terminologies that are 1,000 years old, right? That was taught to people who understood the language, whose hearts wasn't as sick. So, but they believe that not using these archaic forms of giving dawah and these old forms of giving dawah is changing Islam in some way. No, it is not. Because the principles remain the same. Because the Sahaba didn't have these principles. And why did Tawheed change them? Okay? So we have to realize that when we're teaching people, we have to make sure that when we're teaching them, it's practical usage in there. If I'm walking down in North Philadelphia, in some bad neighborhood in Philadelphia, I need you to teach me Tawheed in a way that I'm going to avoid the dope addict, that I'm going to avoid using dope, that I'm going to avoid drinking alcohol, that I'm going to avoid being a murderer, that I'm going to avoid being a fornicator. You have to give it to me in a way that when I'm outside, I'm dodging and dipping like this. I got to know how to drive the car.
Something got to make me say I don't want to go home to my girlfriend tonight.
Exactly.
We have to stop. Tawbah have to be made. We have to separate until we get married. Whether I have to sleep on a masjid floor, whether she have to understand how serious this is, something have to reach that point. If I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say I'm going to quote Muhammad Wahab books, I'm going to quote that we got Quran class, yeah, alhamdulillah, we bought a coffee shop, alhamdulillah, we got this, we got that, alhamdulillah. At the same time, I still got a girlfriend, I'm still meeting you at the masjid, talking about when them things is coming in, I'm still doing that, there's no progress. Do not be fooled by the smoke screen. There isn't no progress.
There's no progress. And the fact that, the leadership of our communities, a lot of them are known for being more sinful, or accused of being more sinful than the actual common person. So when this is at this issue, something is missing. And what's missing is practical usage that goes directly to a person's chest and the bulb comes on in his head. Because you keep telling me, for example, you say Rububiyyah to me, then you tell me it means Allah's lordship.
Yup.
Then you tell me Asa wa Sifat, that Allah's names and attributes. Then you tell me Uluhiyyah, that Allah dealing with the actions of the slave is done for Allah alone. Okay, what does that mean to me in 2017 in the middle of a ghetto?
No. And in reality, the books of Ibn al-Qayyim, you're right. The books of Ibn al-Qayyim, because they call them Tabib al-Qulub, is books that should be taught. That's true. But they should be taught by whom? Sheikh Saleh al-Sheikh answered that question. He said a lot of the students, they will have to be in need of a scholar, a modern scholar, to understand some of the context of those things. Now, this is the job of the student that students don't really understand. A lot of them don't grasp this concept. Your job is not to come back teaching just exactly like the Sheikh. That's not your job. Why do I say that? And what do I mean? Because the Sheikh is teaching students. He's teaching the people from a total different background that are actually not facing some of the same things, right? So in a practical sense, he's talking to an academic audience that understand that. If you're coming back talking to a bunch of dropouts who haven't even paid attention in school, and on top of that, they still fighting, and they might be bipolar. You know what we got? Schizophrenia, depressed, anger problems, all of the other things. Then it's on the student now to try to take the words of those books and look at his people and try to baby feed it. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Regurgitate it enough where as though I can actually feed it to them, spoon feed them. But it's practical.
It's practical.
And they can use it.
I give you a very important practical usage that Sheikh Muqsim Malouk gave us. May Allah preserve the Sheikh. I mean, this practical usage of Tawheed changed how I viewed Islam, how I view my relationship with my Lord. Just bear with me. It's going to be very simple and quick. Just to show you what practical means here. When he explained to us dua, usually we get the terminology dua mas'ala, dua ibadah, right? That's usually what we get, right? We get these terminology, and then they're not even explained to us in detail, and then we don't know how to use them in the first place, right? But the Sheikh didn't do that. He said that supplication has a linguistic meaning to ask or to ask for something or to seek something out. That's in the language, right? And he said in the Shar'an meaning, of dua or supplication is to ask when it's worship. It's to ask a thing that you believe is an ilah for something you think that its response is going to be something you can't imagine with your five senses, right? You can't imagine how it's going to respond to you. That's just in basic term, right? So he gave me an example of that. He said Yunus alayhi salam was in the belly of the well. He was in the belly, it was dark, the well was at the bottom of the ocean, right? At that point, Yunus alayhi salam did what? He called out to his Lord. And the Lord didn't mention that he called out for the actual to remove him from the belly of the well. He said, none has the right to but you. Glory be to you. I've been one of the wrongdoers. He affirmed that Allah has the right to be worshipped. He freed his Lord from any mistakes or deficiencies. And then he mentioned that he's a wrongdoer. And that's seeking Allah's forgiveness, right? At that point, Allah said, we answered him. Yep. Right? We answered him.
Amazing,
right? What did Allah answer? Because he didn't necessarily say, oh, Lord, give me this. So what did Allah answer? Allah answered his intent. The act. What was the ibadah that he did? He made a dhikr of his Lord. And that ibadah, that intent of getting out the well was what was in his heart. And that produced that act. And Allah answered the intent by the act that he did. If you explain things like that, then the Sheikh said, what happens is you're connected to Allah all day. The beard is a supplication. And in fact, you're calling upon Allah with a physical act. The walking to the masjid. The wearing your pants above your ankles, the wearing niqab, or wearing gloves, or wearing the hijab, or wearing abaya, all of these things, they connect you to your Lord all day because in fact, they're you calling upon Allah with an act. And your intent inside of you is to get something from your Lord and to be saved from his anger. So if you connect it like that and make it practical in that sense, then the guy who wants to stop drinking, he knows now that subhanAllah, I am worshiping Allah. I trimmed my mustache today. I grew a beard, even though I'm struggling with cigarettes. I'm struggling with alcohol, but I got my pants above my ankle. I'm still calling upon my Lord, okay? I'm walking to the masjid. That gives a person hope and it makes him feel good about himself. Not constantly beating him down. Not constantly saying that he's only worshiping Allah if he's going to this masjid or he's connected to this dai. He only feels good about himself when he's in that place or around those particular group of people. No, make it practical where a man feels good about himself all day. Or a sister feels good about himself all day. Make it practical. Inshallah, that was easy to understand.
Naam. So the Sheikh, he said, through this explanation, the erroneous understanding that paradise, Jannah, is the embursement of deeds is dispelled. The understanding that a person, by virtue of his deeds alone, has the right to be granted entry into paradise by Allah, just as one who pays the price for a commodity, all right, an item, has the right that it be given him by the seller. Meaning if you purchase something, you purchase an idol, then the person who's selling it to you have to give it to you because you're entitled to it. You paid your money. This explanation makes clear that the actual entry comes to pass by the grace and mercy of Allah, and that deeds are a cause for the entry into paradise. This is very, very important. It might seem like a little simple words, but it isn't. And this is determined the abd. This separates the abd from the one who don't understand the full concept of a servant. The abd understand that he or she relies on Allah. Again, the abd is the one who understands that he or she relies on Allah, period. Now, he or she does not have in their mind that whatever I do I'm deserving for this.
That kills that.
That kills that.
That kills that.
No, I can't get that unless Allah wills it. Unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what? Mercy.
And in return, what does that do?
It's forgiveness.
You increase in actions because you know the actions are part of the means that gets that mercy and forgiveness. You start increasing because you're like, I need to get that mercy. I need to get that forgiveness. Make it practical.
Exactly. Now, for a person going around all day, I'm Salafi. I only buy from the Salafis. I only pray with the Salafis. I only listen to the Salafis. All day long. That person does that, right? And then the moment you realize that person's action for today, the one who's Salafi, then you have another individual come along. He don't even mention the word not once. But when he got up, he made dua. He made wudu. He prayed, right? When he got up, he carried his responsibilities. He went to the masjid. From the masjid, he even went to work. Right? He feeding his family via work, so forth and so on. He's doing all of the practical stuff that you need to do to get closer to Allah. He's not making this, and that. He went to go purchase something. It so happened to be Muslim owned. He went in there, he bought something from a Muslim. Came back home, did what he had to do.
No.
But all the time in his mind, everything I just did today, I don't even know if my Lord going to accept it.
Nah.
Unlike the first one.
Nah.
I'm Salafi. Trust me, I'm clear.
Amen.
Amen.
And you know why? And one of the reasons, I'm listen up closely, because this is psychology 101, hopefully. The reason that you'll find that this group, or these group of people who call themselves the Salafis and everybody else is not, one of the reasons they do this, because psychologically, if you disconnect people from practical Islam and you disconnect them from practical life in Islam, and you separate their hearts from their Lord, and you put their hearts and their minds to a personality, to a place or a thing, you can control that population very easy, because now their connection to Islam is through you. Their connection to taqwa is through you. Their connection to Allah is through you. So now they believe that the only way that they can practice Islam is through you. But if you taught Islam practically, a person be a true slave of Allah, and he's truly free. Why? Because he's only connected to his creator.
That's serious. Because if you're not a servant of Allah, you're a servant of something. And that's what you need to understand. To be a true abd, Allah Jalla wa Ala talks about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the sense of being an abd in 3 different verses in the Quran. But to be a true abd, you have to understand, if you're not serving Allah, you're serving someone else.
SubhanAllah.
And in order to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, then you have to understand what that it means, what it entails. And the only way you're going to do that is through the sunnah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That will be your standard. So like he said, you allow yourself to be controlled by others because you have not yet surrendered yourself to Allah.
Nope.
You have not yet taken the necessary steps. So this is why you find yourself, wherever the wind blows, it's okay. This is why you find yourself like that, complacent. Because you have yet to do what you're supposed to. And that is cleanse your heart and connect it to the one who can benefit it.
And that's the one who's firm. You don't see him jumping from one position to the next. He's grounded like this because his heart is firm.
Aisha radiallahu anha, she said about the verse that all of us, alhamdulillah, if we pray we pray 5 times a day, we recite over 17 times. It's iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. She said about this verse, she said that we will ask Allah for our shoelace, or we will ask Allah for something, not shoelace, that's one. We will ask Allah for something before we ask someone else. We will ask Allah for something, meaning we will ask Him first, awalan, before we begin to ask anyone else. How often do you try that? Even if a person has the ability to give you and physically able to give you what you want, did you start off by asking Allah first for that thing? See the mindset? We asked Allah first. This is what she's saying. We tied and connected ourselves to Allah. We wasn't dependent upon someone else. If so-and-so student don't look at me today, he stopped speaking to me. He plastered my name all over the internet. He tell everybody don't listen to this ignoramus. Don't take from him. He can barely spiritually speak Arabic. He can barely spiritually speak English. Guess what? It doesn't matter. Because he doesn't have control whether or not my actions are accepted or not.
So why should
he doesn't have control of whether or not I am admitted to Jannah or not.
Exactly.
Why should I care?
Exactly. And no one can remove anything from your heart except Allah. Just because somebody said you not Salaf, or you not on the Sunnah, or you not this, he doesn't have the ability to make you not that.
No, that's true. No.
He don't have that ability. He has no control over anything in your life or outside of your life whatsoever.
So Tayyib, the Sheikh, he said, therefore, actual entry into paradise is dependent upon the grace of Allah. I want to repeat that again. Therefore, actual entry into paradise is dependent upon what? The grace of Allah, His forgiveness and mercy. He is the one who blessed the person with the means and the results of that means. Major. This is Aqidah point 2. Allah says in the Quran, Wallahu khalaqakum wa a'malakum. Allah wa amalakum. Allah said He created you and your handiwork. Allah created you and that what you've done. In this verse, Allah Jalla wa Ala, the ulama extracted many benefits, but we just want to bring it here to what He's saying here. Allah is, for example, the cause of that means, meaning He is the person who blessed the person with the means and the results of that means.
You mentioned that you can't see your head.
Nah, part of the means. F1. So a part of those means. So if you see those means, for example, again, back to that verse, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ibn al-Qayyim, he have a 2-volume book off of this verse alone. Allahu Akbar. But in this verse, he mentioned that the isti'ana, Iyyaka na'bud, meaning worshiping Allah Jalla wa Ala, and the isti'ana. One cannot worship Allah without the aid of Allah. Let's not get too technical. Without Allah aiding you to worship in the first place, you wouldn't be able to do it. Henceforth, you're praying the 5 salawats, Allah aids you to do it. You're seeking forgiveness, Allah aids you to do it. You're adhering to the Quran and the Sunnah according to the Fahm Salaf, Allah aids you to do it. Allah aiding you to do that. This is what he's saying here. He is the one who blessed the person with the means and the result of that means. Okay?
So, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you have to understand this. If you're going to say, can you say Salafiyya? Yes, it's a legislated name that you can use, like Ahlul Sunnah, Ahlul Hadith, or Ahlul Athar, and these type of legislated names. Nah, but the most important thing, live up to it. The most important thing, if you're going to say Salafiyya, then live up to it. You don't have to keep running around saying the slogan. Live up to it. And the only way you're going to begin to live up to it is to disconnect your heart from all these factions, disconnect your heart from all these places, and connect your heart to your Creator, and know that this is a soul journey between you and your Creator, that you got to connect your heart to Him, not to me, not to Nafis, not to anybody. You got to connect it to Allah. So if you really want to practice Salafiyya, then start connecting to your heart to the one who created that heart.
Universal principles don't change no matter what group, ethnicity, or whatever place you come from. There are human traits that have been passed down from generation to generation. We all know the saying, birds of a feather flock together, so forth. Universal principles. So like Isa is actually saying, so a person don't have to sit here and, you know, elaborate this or that. We understand that the person who is the loudest, and this is one of those things, the universal principles. The one who is the loudest, we always find out that what? He's the one who's the softest, for lack of better words. He's the softest. He's the softest. It's the one who is the quiet one you have to worry about, right? As we always say, the one who is quiet, right? But the one who is the loudest, think about that. Everything is loud. Every product I sell, I have to say the word Salafi. Everything I have to do, it have to be a Salafi.
Salafi Eid.
You know, I just have to mention it. You know, I'm Salafi, I'm Salafi, I'm Salafi. And the one who doesn't do all of that, who's not trying to go out of his way to prove to people that I adhere to Quran and Sunnah Fahm Salaf, he's actually trying to implement it more so than scream it and shout it. That person is different. Now, let's go back to this statement. And I want to say this again. Let's go back to the statement of Sheikh Fawzan, Hafidhullah. The Sheikh, he made a statement. He said, it's perhaps a person who does not claim to be Salafi is more Salafi than the one who claims to be Salafi. That's how you understand that. Because he said this, Sheikh Sulaiman al-Rahidi said the same thing. What is it about? It's about haqa'iq.
Yep.
It's not about
implementation.
Asma. It's not about names and titles. It's more so about implementation. That's what it's about.
Well, the thing we do is it's easier to say I'm Salafi than just actually being Salafi. I mean, it's a lot easier to say I'm Salafi and actually being Salafi, or being Sunni, or being Athri, or whatever, any type of name that's legislated to use, because they're all legislated to use. You can say Sunni, Athri, Salafi, Sunni. They're all legislated names that we can find in the Sharia. But this is the issue. The issue is, are you going to work to be that, or are you just going to use the slogans thinking the slogan will get you by? And they won't.
And people got to realize this. There's no such thing of having a teacher that doesn't influence you. There's no such thing of having someone in front of you teaching you that does not influence you in some type of way. It has to be a positive way. They have to be role models. They have to be examples. And sometimes we keep forgetting that. We keep saying, well, it ain't about the leader. It's not about this person. It's not about that person. It ain't about this or that. You have to really take consideration that, yes, it is about that. Because Allah Jalla wa Ala said, have Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam been harsh-hearted. Have Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not have, Allah didn't perfect his character. Have he have not ordered Jibril to clean his heart when he was young? How many people would have followed the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? It's important that a person who's teaching you and who's disseminating knowledge be a source of inspiration for you. This is why you find those statements like that. Imam Shafi, his mother said, take from his character. Imam Malik.
Yep.
How many classes do we have on adab, on mannerism? How many classes do we have on morals and mannerism alone? I'm talking about practical classes. How many times do you hear people understand about etiquettes of sitting, eating? All of this help you out with proper adab. How many classes do we have on these things?
No.
You know, how many times we work on those things? Islam is the solution. They have solution for those things. But we don't work on that. And this is the problem. There's no more time. There's no more time to tolerate people who are in the front teaching us and they are not disseminating that, and it's not shown, or they're not influencing us in a way that can actually be seen. We have to draw inspiration from that.
No.
And this is why Sheikh Muhammad Aman Jami, he written the book, The Sifatu Da'i, the characteristics of the caller.
No. I mean, the thing is, if you inspire people, they get rid of the people who wasn't inspiring them. So at the end of the day, if the people start getting inspired, their hearts get connected to the Creator, then they throw out the trash. They throw out the people who are not connecting them to their Creator. That's what happens. When people wake up, they turn around and look at the people who had them sleep the whole time. They throw the sleeping pills out. That's what they do. They take the pills, they step on it, pull them into the sink, and they turn the water on, and all that stuff goes out into the drain, into the rivers and the oceans. That's what happens to, and because the thing is, if you connect people to true Sunnah and true Islam, right? You want to call it Salafiyah, you want to call it Sunniyah, any name that's permissible to call it. But at the end of the day, it's the actual implementation that changes the individual. If that happens, and the general public start to connect their heart, not to Dice, not to Germantown, not to any name, Hasamali, any of these guys. They don't put their names to me or Nafis. That their hearts start going to their Creator, that people start demanding more. Because know why? Because Allah commands you to demand more.
No. Actually, Allah holds a higher standard.
Exactly.
The Prophet ﷺ holds a higher standard. And none of us are the Prophet or can be the Prophet. But we have to use them as a model. We have to use the companions as a model. Just to elaborate on the concept that there are people out there who make fun of the usage of the term Salafi. Okay? There are people out there that exist. And there are some people who do it with a negative connotation. And there are some people who do it as a reactionary way. If you got one group of people who are forcing something down your throat, and they are, saying that we are attaching ourselves to the best of the creation, or the best of the generations, the best of the creation, which are the Salaf, and their actions is totally left field and opposite of what the best of the generation were, then you're going to find people in a condescending and sarcastic way belittling the word Salafi. And all of this happened as a result of, this is why it's extremely important, as Allah Jalla wa Ala tells in the Quran, do la tasubbu. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do not insult. Do not insult those who they call on. Those who they call on besides Allah. For in turn, out of their ignorance, they will insult Allah. It's important that you don't try to force things down people's throats. You don't do that. In terms of what you do is you lead by example. La ikraha fi din. There is no compulsion in the religion. There's no compulsion. Islam didn't spread by the sword, like many of the kuffar say. There's no compulsion in the religion. You don't have to force someone to accept haqq. It's already true. Their nature, which is a natural feature, is going to appeal to that.
It's going to be the truth, whether they accept it or not.
Yes, you don't have to force it to them. And this is something that you see in our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did Anas ibn Malik said? What did he say? Anas ibn Malik, he said, I spent 10 years with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in my service of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I never ever heard him once shout at me. He never raised his hands at me. He never did such and such, such and such. That had left a lasting effect. So much so when he recounted his encounter with the Prophet ﷺ and his staying with the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that. That's how we have the hadith.
No.
That's how we have this athar. He mentioned that because that was everlasting. How many of us can say that we have came across someone who we deemed, who hold lofty titles, but they have treated you in a way that was insulting? They have treated you in a way that wasn't right. You might have dealt business with them. They haven't did this, they haven't did that. This stuff is imperative. No, you miss me with all the titles. I don't care about the titles. I don't care about the titles. Tulab, prove that you're Tulab.
No.
Prove that you're students. Prove that you're students. No, you're not going to come back and you're going to have an already made center. You're going to have an already made people who want to do academics. No, you're going to come back to some hardship. You're going to come back to some real people who are on drugs. People are on some type of drugs, whether it's a pill to get, whatever the case may be. You're going to come back to some people fighting some type of battle, whether it be whatever they're going through, a mental state. the physical abuse, whatever. Now you're going to have to utilize all of that stuff that you sit there and learn from those scholars and those mashaykh. You're going to have to put that now, and you're going to have to put that to real life practical.
A place where we praying Fajr and they having shootouts behind the masjid. We praying Fajr and it's so loud that you think you got to duck. That's the test of the talib. Not the person who run around, alhamdulillah, I got this degree, I came out. Or not the person who, alhamdulillah, I'm connected with Sheikh Rabi'. You did, alhamdulillah, we called the Sheikh, and the Sheikh, he said, we're good, how the dawah in the West. Nah. The dawah in the West is still torn up. We're not progressing. The moment that we progress is the moment that we change. Do we own any buildings? I'll wait. Where are the buildings that we supposed to own? Where's the group economics?
Where's the group economics? We don't have none of that stuff.
Where's the academic centers?
Okay.
For 20 years, we have nothing to show for 20 years.
Where's the each one teach one? That concept is not even there. Where's the patronizing each other? That concept is foreign. That's all that's foreign to Islam. So don't sit here and tell me, yeah, we're progressing. People just want to make noise. They want to shout and this and that. No, we're being serious, man.
And this and that,
it goes back to this stuff here.
And this is not to mention any personalities, but I'm going to make an example. You had 20 years of craziness, right? Where our hearts were being connected to people, places, and things. And these same people who connected our heart to people, places, and things have been controlling the dial for 20 years.
No.
Right? In the name of Salafiyya, which in reality, I don't know what it was. But this is the thing. The same people that they talk about and the same people they say you shouldn't take from are now actually, they have two things. The Free Islamic Library, and we're not toting on, this is only by the mercy of Allah and Allah's grace that we have a Free Islamic Library, the first in its kind in our city. And we have another group of brothers who have the Imam Muslim Center, right? And the only reason I'm mentioning this, not to blow anybody's head up, but these same people that you slander and talk about, and the same people you say that's not on the Sunnah, that's not Salafi, and not that, they're actually doing things the Salaf did. Opening up centers of academics, centers of dealing with social ills and problems in the community, but which, in fact, hasn't been done for 20 years, but 20 years later, these same individuals that you slander, they are actually doing things that are progressive. Having a center, having a library. These are progressive means that leads to progress. They won't change things overnight, but they're actually a vehicle for progression to happen. So we have to understand that the reality is that, number one, if the hearts are not well, they're sick, and they're not connected to their Lord, you can't build on mush. How you going to build on cement that's wet? You got to dry. That heart has to become firm for you to start building on it. And if it's wet and shaky, every time you put something on, it's going to fall down. And that's why our communities aren't working, because our hearts are soft and our hearts are weak. And so what happens is when you try to build on top of that, all these things you're trying to build on top of it, it collapses into nothingness because there's nothing firm to stick anything into.
No. So the Sheikh, to end this chapter, the Sheikh, he says, alhamdulillah, Allah allow us to be able to reach the end. The Sheikh, he said that hence entry is not a direct outcome of one's actions and of themselves. It is recorded in the Sahih, that the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah, blessing is all that said to paradise, you are my mercy. I show mercy to you, to whoever I will of my servants. The servants have no right over him that he must render. Never. Neither in his presence is any effort wretched, meaning wasted. If they are punished, then that is by his justice. If they are in bliss and happiness and delight, then that is by his beneficence. He is the kind and he is the vast. That's the great principle. And that's something that I ask all of us, that Allah Jalla allow us to take home with us, so that we don't be prideful, we don't be boastful, and we understand that what we get is what we get is by the will and grace of Allah Jalla wa'ala. And if Allah allows something to happen to you from some type of atrocities or test and trial you, then know that it's only that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tests and tries the servant that he loves. It can be an expiation for you. It can be a way of you getting closer to your Lord. Let's stop complaining. If you're going to complain, then complain only to Allah. And that's no matter whatever the case may be. And this is some of the things that we really got to get back to in order to move forward, in order to rid ourselves of ever being duped by anything. And it's easy to be duped, because sometimes we can be impressed with the works of others. We can be impressed by our own works. We can be impressed by things that we said or have done. But this keeps the balance here. When we realize that what we said and what we done and what others done is not even the point. The point is whether or not Allah Jalla wa'ala accept or did not accept. Whether or not He's going to have mercy or not have mercy on you. Whether or not He forgave you or have not, or He did not forgive you. These are the points. So this is why we need to try to obtain His grace. And the only way you can obtain His grace, inshallah ta'ala, and we're going to get into that. Hopefully Ibn Rajab is going to explain that. And we're going to start learning how to obtain Allah's grace.
No.
So we didn't like to keep you that long, but this is what we wanted to bring. And like we said, no one get it right 100% all the times, only Allah and His Messenger. But we want to say that whatever was done, and just to be balanced, whatever was done, alhamdulillah, if it was done, and it was good, and it was born out of that which is correct, then know that if Allah Jalla wa'ala, the reward is with Allah, and Allah will keep it and will remain.
No.
But if that which was corrupt, and that which not was done for the sake of Allah, and was not done correct, then know that Allah is going to remove it, and it's not going to remain. Okay, you're not going to have a bunch of people talking about your reign for 20 years and talking about what you have done and what you did not do, unless there was something that wasn't right. It's just not going to have a whole bunch of people all jumping on the bandwagon unless it was something that wasn't right. We do not encourage people to talk bad about the rulers, and this is not the case of the rulers. We do not encourage people to belittle any issues of the deen. But in reality, we do encourage people to demand more of themselves, and in terms, they're going to demand more from their leaders, and they're going to demand more for those who teach them. Inshallah.
Naam, barakallah fi.
Fiqh barakallah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.